Hey guys, it's Lou from Savvy Digital, and today we're going to be going through the salary survey of 2022 for PPC professionals based on their experience level as well as the country that they live in. So this was put together by Dwayne Brown, not myself, and Dwayne Brown has, put this survey together for the contribution to the community and for people that are within the PPC field to understand exactly what their salary expectations should be based on where they live and their experience level. So you can see his on Twitter here is Dwayne Brown, so feel free to thank him. And I'm going to go through his survey here today to get view and understanding of what you can expect with the salaries. So as you can see, he's lived in 6 cities on 3 continents and he knows the struggle of salary negotiations. This document should help with you to basically present it to your boss within your field and understand exactly what you can expect in your pay rise. So starting off with the numbers, you can see here it says that they received 715 responses from around the world, including India, Australia and Brazil, and the 4 top countries being the United States, United Kingdom, Canada and the Netherlands. So that is the same as last year. He's been doing these for around 7 years now, so we can expect one for 2023. And as you can see, he said that Germany moved up to 5th place this year, with Australia and Spain tied for 6th place. Spain is also a new addition to the top 6. So for today, I'm actually just going to go through a hand-picked selection of countries just to narrow down the results, as for some of the sort of comparison countries within Europe, for example, are quite similar in terms of results that they gathered. We'll go through that in a second though, so let's start up with the actual demographics. So you can see here for the responses that they got 161 that are female, 538 that are male, 2 non-binary, 3 transgender, and 11 prefer not to say. So in terms of where they work, you can see 398 out of the 715 work in an agency. You have 225 in-house, 0 for non-profit. We have 66 self-employed / freelancers, 4 other, and 2 advertising network or vendors. In terms of company size, we have it scattered across the board with bigger companies and smaller companies, but for the most part it seems that people work in a company that has around 11 to 50 employees, which is probably what you expect in a medium-sized agency. So in terms of the number of years experience, so there's 24 under a year, and you can see here there's actually a difference between experience working overall as well as experience working in the paid field. And you can see here 1 to 2 years, you have 53 and 98. And then with the outstanding majority, you can see it is within the 3 to 9 year sort of span here. So this should give us some very interesting stats across the board. So let's start off with United Kingdom. It is my native country and most of my viewers are from there, so let's start off there. So you can see important notes. Some people have 1 to 3 years experience in paid, but have higher but have working experience for 8 to 10 years in other fields, so they can skew the salaries slightly higher based on their professional experience. And all salaries are in the local currency for that country. Years experience is just in paid when it comes to the results, and you can see it only uses locations that have had at least 10 responses. So in terms of demographics, you can see here again, ad agency seems to be the overwhelming sort of majority, and then 26 in-house, and then we have most of them around 80%, 70 to 80% are male compared to female and non-binary. Transgender. So in terms of hours worked, you can see there is 2 responses for 20 hours, 8 responses for 30 hours, and the majority seem to be in the 40, 50, and 60 hour range, with only 1 actually being in 60 hours, which is nice to see. In terms of annual leave, you have 2 for 1 week, you have 4 for 2 weeks, you have 3 weeks at 15 responses, and the majority again sits within that 4-week range, which again is what you can expect, with some actually being slightly higher at 5 to 6 weeks. And some have actually got the unlimited PTO off sort of model in place in terms of their annual leave as well, which is becoming a sort of a rising thing, especially see it in LinkedIn with business owners that kind of implements that model just to test with the sort of well-being of their employees. If you do want to actually see the full report, I'll leave a link in the description to the exact report and the Reddit post that discusses the details that go through it here. So as you can see, in terms of the size of the salary, you can see with the company size being the main factor, you can see people tend to earn the most when they work in a company sort of as an average, as that around the 201 to 500 employee range. That's probably likely to be mostly in-house and larger agencies. You see the median salary for a company that's over 5,000 employees is actually slightly higher as well, but with low responses that might skew the results. you can see with the max salary again, that tends to be sitting within the 201 to 500 employee range. So that seems to be kind of the sweet spot. As we can see with the 11 to 50, which is the sort of most common amount of employees that we saw in terms of the company size, you can see the average is slightly lower. But when a sort of person is kind of starting out and they're not in such a senior position, that's probably where you can expect them. In terms of years experience, you can see it jumps up massively between the ranks. So under 1 year, it's around £18,000. 1 to 2 years is 30,000, up to 40,000 in 3 to 5. Then 6 to 9 is 53,687. And then finally 10 to 15 years, you can see the average is 74,000. So that's kind of where it tops out, with the max salary being 110,000. So someone's obviously doing very well there. Again, in terms of the agency salary, that is to mention that as the in-house salary with the previous one that we looked at. And then you can see with the agency salary, it's slightly lower. Again, what we can expect in terms of the climate of the job market. So in terms of the female salary, you can see here we have the averages looking between 20 to 52,000 depending on experience. And then with the male salary, it is slightly higher. But as you can see, the actual average salary on the lowest sort of experience level is actually lower for male, but it does get higher as it goes along. So generally across the United Kingdom, just based on experience, you can see it ranges from 20,000 roughly all the way up to 100,000 at 15 plus years experience. And that goes across England. And in London, it's slightly different in terms of the sort of minimum salary, especially around 28,000. If we look at Manchester, you can see the average salaries tend to be lower across the board, but that could be because of lesser results. So non-London, again, you can see here that it tends to be lower than London as a whole. And you can see for the actual trends of where it's going, you can see in most sort of areas, it's slowly starting to creep up, but it still seems to be around the same as what it was in 2020. But there is a considerable jump between 2018, 2020 and 2022. So let's look at the United States next, probably what most people are looking at and looking for. So you can see here, again, it looks very, very similar to what we see within the UK, except from the fact there are zero that actually are in the advertising network and vendor area, and most again sort of be sitting within the agency field, with less people actually self-employed and freelancers. You can see here there is a majority of males again, and it seems to be the most sort of deep data pool. And then if we look at the hours worked, we have 11 people for 20, we have 30 for 30, 190 for 40, 79 for 50, and 13 for 60. So considerably longer in terms of the average worked compared to the UK. And then the actual vacation days, you can see here, unlimited PTO is the overwhelming favorite model for the vacations day, and the most common outside of that is around 3 weeks. So looking at the company size salaries, you can see here for 1 to 10, there is a massive difference here. So you can see the max salary currently sits around 675,000, but looking at the average, it seems to kind of, average out around the 100 to 110,000 mark there. And you can see the medium kind of reflects that. And then if we look at the in-house salary compared to the agency salary, it seems to be slightly higher, again, similar to the UK in some fields. But then if you have the agency salary for first year, you can see it is higher than the in-house at 46,000. So it could be the way to go, which is slightly different to agency in the UK, where it was lower across the board. So in terms of self-employed, it looks like they're absolutely killing it when it comes to that side of things, with people, as low as 1 to 2 years in terms of experience, bringing in around $125,000, and then it all gets all the way up to around $223,000 on average for over 15 years experience, and that's across 10 number of responses, which is incredible. So female salary, as you can see, it's between the 43,000 to 128,000 range. And then with the male salary, it is slightly higher, with 46,000 all the way up to 192,000. So looking at the United States as a whole, you can see it ranges between 46,000 and 174,000. But then if we look at California, that's slightly lower than the average across the US. And again, with Florida, it's the same sort of score. But then in Texas and in New York City, you can see it jumps off massively. And it seems like Texas is kind of where it is, where it should be. With the sort of results and where you want to be working. But you can see the max salary is actually quite skewed by this $825,000 result that we can see here. So in terms of the salary trends, as you can see, but again, similarly between the UK and the US, 36,000 in 2018 for no years experience or under 1 years. Again, we can see across the board there seems to be a massive jump between 2018 and 2022, with there being actually a considerable increase between 2018 and 2020 on the screen there. Looking at the rest of the world to conclude the video, we're going to look at Asia as well as India and South America. So starting off with Asia, as you can see, the sort of average salary in terms of Singapore dollars or Singaporean dollars, you can see here the most responses came from Singapore as a whole, and you can see it ranges between 23,000 to 100,000 Singaporean dollars between 1 and 15 years experience, with no responses outside of that range. If we look at India, you can see people have between 1 to 5 years experience, and you can see here that the average is between 500,000 Indian rupees all the way up to 1 million Indian rupees and around about that. But you can see that's across only 11 responses. So there are quite a massive gap between the min and max salaries. Finally, looking at South America, it is converted into real, as you can see here, as most responses were from Brazil. And you can see that the average salaries range between 26,000 real all the way up to 260,000 Brazilian real. So that is an incredible difference right there. But again, don't be fooled, because there are a very small amount within the data pool, so it could be skewed very easily. Anyway, I hope you did enjoy the video. This is going to conclude the sort of salary expectations you can see across the world based on your region, and you can probably imagine based on the continent you're within and sort of the average GDP within the capita and the sort of place that you're in, you could probably average it out to kind of estimate what you could be expecting, and you can look at the local job market to understand that further. If you did enjoy the video, please give it a like, and also check out the full report in the description below. I'll leave a link to it there, and also comment down below what you think about the salary expectations. If you want to know how to optimize your Google campaign or make an amazing search campaign straight out of the gate, please watch the video on the screen right now to take your Google Ads campaign to the next level.